Namaste. Crispy Baguettes in here. Interesting day today. Everything from changing the battery in my classic VW, pretty fun, tear the back seat out, do it under there, to harvesting parsnips. Waited too long, some of them got too woody. I was going to try to hold them over to the fall, but I'm glad I didn't because some of them look good. Mindfulness, it's the topic for me this week. I've been reading about it. I'm reading a really good book on it, and then I've been doing some other research in conjunction with that. Mindfulness is a really nice way of saying being present, being engaged in the moment of what's happening, or as I like to say it in my teachings, do what you're doing while you're doing it. So sometimes yoga is one of those funny things where the most simplistic things become really profound later through your experience of them. So again, do what you're doing while you're doing it. For me, so often in this world, I'm doing two or three things. I'm driving somewhere, but I'm also on the phone, or I'm actively engaged in like the music I'm listening to, or I'm having a million conversations in my head. At home, I do the classic thing. I watch TV and check the internet and do all kinds of same things at the same time, and we like to reward ourselves in the high end of the social realm or the work realm by calling that multitasking. I think we're really accomplishing something, but oftentimes we're really just dissipating energy. So yoga is a really great opportunity. Again, appropriate, a differing definition, not a differing, but a complementary definition of it is uninterrupted, undivided, focused attention. Doing what you're doing while you're doing it. So a person who's really engaged in sports of some kind might find themselves in what's referred to as the zone, and it's a place of high performance, but without a lot of ego. There's not a lot of attachment to it. There's just a being in it, a presence, a timelessness. I think often too, someone in the creative process, even say like the potter who sits at their wheel and throws the pot, it's the process of being there and doing it. There is an outcome, but there's a detachment during the process that allows a great amount of presence, of engagement, of involvement, mindfulness. So do what you're doing while you're doing it. When we do the practice, our mind goes elsewhere. Bring it back to what you're doing, experiencing what's happening. This is the nature of mindfulness, and as I research more and more about mindfulness, it's fascinating what an incredible impact it can have, and yet how rudimentary and simplistic it is to those of us who are already engaged in these kind of flow-based practices, or practices that engage in being focused on presence. One great trip that you can go on for yourself just on the mindful voyage is to just control the breath. First, come to a place of observing the breath in and out, and then just begin to equalize it. So I think I spoke earlier on another video about the sama-vritti, same cycles, same fluctuations. As you breathe and experience just what it's like to follow the breath in and out of the body, follow the shape change. Sure, the mind will wander, but we gently draw it back to the sensation of the next breath. Then we can reach a place where we equalize or stabilize the breath in the Sanskrit sama-vritti. Perhaps it takes 5 beats for the inhale and 5 beats for the exhale. And as they say in the beautiful text, the inhale is like the quality of sipping water through a straw. The exhale is the quality of warm oil being poured slowly in a stream. As we follow that, maybe we see fluctuations even in that solemnity or the solidity or fluidity of the breath. We notice those places. Just the mindfulness of that will help us attach to something that's very real, something that's very present, our breath engaged in every moment, something that's very cyclical, and as humans we're warmed and reassured and comforted by cyclical. And it also obviously has enormous amounts of effects beneficial on the nervous system immediately causing a calming reaction, a more tend and befriend and be kind kind of emotive feeling versus the fight or fright or flight. It changes our brain activity to one where we can access more of the higher brain functions, prefrontal cortex, the executive function. This includes not only decision making, but really the facts of discernment, what I think the practice is all about. The really thinking about it. In Sanskrit, when you make the same kind of mistake you make over and over, and sorry for a really bad example, but you got sick on tequila once and you do it again and again. This is prashna prarada, the mistake of the intellect. It's where you have enough information, you just don't act on it correctly. One way we can avoid, though, is to really turn on the executive function, the higher thinking, and part of doing that is stabilizing the nervous system and getting ourselves into a place where we can be mindful of what it is. That doesn't mean all the bad stuff goes away. In fact, sometimes we become more aware of the inconsistency in our lives, but it also gives us the fortitude to begin to make the small changes. So maybe just a couple times a day, sure you're doing a yoga practice, that's excellent, but get it off the mat and bring it into the rest of your world. A couple times a day, make a note to just sit and be mindful for 2 to 3 minutes of the breath. Just 2 to 3 minutes of conscious breathing. Think of it like in the old world of the Dr. Pepper. What was it, 10, 2, and 4? You were supposed to take a little break and have a Dr. Pepper. So maybe 10, 2, and 4, you take a little break and come back to the breath. See how it goes in and out. Regulate it for a moment, and watch the body's response internally to that. That's what I wanted to share with you today, mindfully, from mind to yours, from many's to mine. Give thanks and praise. It's an excellent summer thus far. Be well. Namaste.